So we're going to take a look at using some vector techniques to enhance your base photographs in Affinity Photo. Now this is actually a photograph here. If we have a look, this is actually the corner of a very modern building. So what we're going to do is just use the pen tool to enhance some of these lines and also bring out the windows. So we'll actually start with the windows. If I go ahead and select the pen tool, I'll zoom in, and then notice on the layers tab here I just have the pixel layer. If I start clicking, once I define my second point here, a curve layer is added. So I can just click and then click back to the first point I've added to complete the curve. Then under the color tab up here, we can fill the inside of this curve simply by starting to click drag on the color sliders here. So if we just move back to the hand tool for a minute, all we've done really is add a white solid. So there are two things we'll do with this solid. One is we'll drop the opacity down to about 70%. Then we'll go in and add a live Gaussian blur, and we'll set the blur at about 1 pixel. Now instantly this makes the shape work much better. If we zoom out, you'll be able to see the difference between the window we've just filled in and the window we've yet to do. So let's go ahead and do exactly the same process for this window. Now you'll notice at the moment I'm not being too precious with the exact positioning of these points. That's because we can go in and modify them. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, once again, we will take the opacity down, then we'll add a Gaussian blur, radius of 1 pixel, like so. Okay, so to begin cleaning up these curves, we can go ahead and activate the node tool down here. Then we select the curve we want to modify, and we can just simply click, drag each node to fine tune it. And again, we'll do the same with this window over here. We'll select this curve. So we actually have a bit of window in shadow here, causing a bit of visual trickery there. Okay, so now we can go ahead with the pen tool again, and we can start to add an outline to the building. And what we'll do this time is modify the width of the stroke. Like so. And then a quick way to start drawing a new curve layer entirely rather than continuing with the one we're currently working on is to press the escape key twice. You'll notice that's deselected the curve layer, and we can then begin drawing a new point. Once again, we'll use the double escape and then we'll do the edges around the window. So an important point to make is that you should zoom out to view your image in its entirety every so often. For example, having done so, we might decide that the thickness of these lines is just too great. So again, what we can do is go in with the node tool here. Let's see, we've got this curve selected, and we can simply alter the line width. So we'll try a more conservative 15-point line. And once again, we can select each curve in turn. And modify its width. Like so. Okay then, one final thing to do with all these curves is, despite the fact that we're going for a very sharp look, we want to reduce the jagginess of these curves. If I zoom in, you can see the stair stepping there. So we'll add a very small amount of Gaussian blur, but we don't want to be doing it to each curve layer in turn because that's very time consuming. So instead what we can do is shift click to select all of the curves, then use the group option here to group them. And then with this group selected, we can go in, add a Gaussian blur filter, and we want ever such a small radius for this. No more than, say, 0.2 pixels. Even that is perhaps too blurry. We might try 0.1. That's a bit better. So then, one final technique to darken the edges further and just round this image off is to go up into Layer, New Live Filter Layer, add a clarity filter, and we'll bring the radius up significantly. Then we'll change the blend mode to darken. Now you'll notice just a second ago, before I changed the blend mode, we had some horrible haloing around the edges. But by setting the blend mode to darken, we've basically just added a little more punch to all the dark lines in the image. If I take the clarity filter off, you can see the before, and then by checking it again, you'll see it adds a subtle darkening. So there we go. There's a quick video to hopefully give you some ideas about how you can use vector shapes to enhance your photography. Let's just see a before and after. So I'll shift click to select these and uncheck them. So we have our original image here, then I'll check all of these. And we might argue the effect is actually quite subtle, but it does add some cleanliness to these lines in the image, as well as add some hyper-realism to the windows here. So, if you have any questions or queries, please do feel free to ask on the official Affinity forums. Thank you for watching.